Are you ready, Dane?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, let me click you up here and put you on the spot. Chandler's in Arizona. He did a little piece for us last week. And talk to us, sir. It's your show.
Okay, so last week we turned this piece. And what we're going to do tonight is turn a lid for the top of the vessel. So this is another that I did while at the same time. And so it just sits inside. And so right now it's just got boiled linseed oil on it and soaking in. And then from there, I'll put some shiny stuff on it. That way I can shave. But yeah, it's whoops. It's a simple project. If you watched the video and you guys were here last week, you know, it's pretty simple to do. It's all one piece. It's a 4 by 4 inch by 4 inch square. The vessel is turn the scale around the right way. Is 3 inches on the outside walls. The inside diameter is 2.5 inches, and then the vessel depth is about 1 3/4. So that's what we're going to shoot for today.
Okay. Now, Billy Burt just joined us. He may have to recap the dimensions a little bit later on. Billy was out having a snack.
Oh, no, that's fine. And so with the piece we did last week, once we got into it, we had some voids.
Oh, yeah, they're showing up.
You can see it. But that was creating a lot of tool chatter. And so I reinforced that yesterday with Parfix 3408 and did a little bit of sanding, you know, to get rid of the overflow. When you go to use super glue to patch something, always remember to put down what you use as a sanding sealer. And it doesn't matter what the sanding sealer is. Sanding sealer is essentially just the first coat of finish that you put on. It's going to go in and seal the wood grain and prevent absorption at a different rate consistently between the piece. So anyhow, so that's what I did. And then I had one blowout here on the side, and so I repaired it.
Again, so, with the 3408?
Yes, and so for that, that's charcoal. And then the same with the other side, you know, and it's all part of this knot that was internal that I didn't see in the 2 foot 4x4 that I had. So went ahead and repaired that, you know, put down a little bit of CA in the broken off piece, the snag catch part. And then from there, you just sprinkle crushed charcoal on top of it, get a layer, and put some more CA down, and you build it up and sand it off, and it does a fabulous job, and it turns into looking something like a mineral deposit or something on the wood. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to make a lid for it, and then we're going to turn the tenon off the bottom.
Okay, let's go.
And we're going to be using jam chucks for that.
Good.
So without further ado, so here's my piece. And so what I've done is found my centers, and I do that for both sides and mark it. Ultimately wound up having a smaller square on the inside, took that as my center for each side. Here on this side, this is going to be the bottom of the vessel top. And so I found my diameter for that I want to turn to, that I want to test and make sure, you know, I don't want a snap cap fit, but I just want a nice fit where it goes in and not have any slop in it. That's the goal. So then this side here will be the top side. And what I'll be doing is taking this 1 1/4 inch block 4x4. And first I'll be rounding it off, get rid of the corners, and then making a tenon on the top side that's going to wind up being the vessel cap knob. because it's all one piece. And whoever's doing admitting folks to the room, please admit them, because they're popping up and they're blocking me and I can't see what's going on. So anyhow, so we're doing a single piece, you know, we're not doing a separate finial top. It's just one top, and it's just a simple knob, just so somebody's got the access to be able to pull it off and dump their rings in or whatever it is that they want to do with it. All right, so put it back between centers. That is my preference. You could use a Forstner bit and make a recess and chuck it up that way in small pin jaws. But again, I prefer turning between centers. You got the 4 corners here. They're very dangerous. You do not want your hand to get clicked with it. So I always take a piece of chalk and mark on my tool rest, even though my hand's going to be behind it. Sometimes you can creep up and catch the end of your hand. You know, so I always mark where those corners are coming in at. And safety device.
Shields up.
Shields up. And so for this, I'm just going to be hogging off the material and pushing in and making my tenon, which is going to wind up being the cap, which the cap will get final turned through a jam chuck. So without further ado, let's spin it up and have at it. Again, I'm comfortable with speed. I've done many square turnings and whatnot. Turning between centers is really, really safe. You're out of the line of fire, so I turn at a fairly high RPM. Again, it's only a 4x4, and I'm sitting around 1,000 to 1,100 RPMs.
I think they call that warp factor 3.
And when you're using a stud center, the beauty of a stud center is it'll spin if you're trying to take off too much material for it. And so all you got to do is crank, give a small crank on the back of your tailstock to tighten things up. Cutting with the bevel, tool handle down, raising it up as I get to the top.
The question came in is he going to leave that corners, those square corners on the piece? No, he's turning a square piece into round, but this is part of the demonstration is if you do not have a bandsaw and you can't circle out wood, don't slow it down. Here it is, well, you can do it.
Was there a question?
A comment.
Oh, okay.
Sort of.
Yeah, so I could have threw it on the bandsaw and circled and took off the corners and everything, or lopped them off by hand. But it's just as quick. Turn it off. So something small like this, it's not a big deal.
No, and you learn how to use your tools.
Exactly. It's additional practice of understanding the wood, how it feels, how it sounds when it's cutting against your tool steel. It gives you the opportunity to manipulate different techniques to see which works best. But yeah, it's not a big deal. You know, you don't need to go, necessarily go over to the bandsaw and circle everything out. you know, by the time you do that, and then by the time you turn it, it's the same, you know, so. All right, so got it rounded. Oh, looky there. And there's a knot on that one. So now I'm going to work this section here to a tenon, which is eventually going to be the knob for the lid vessel. And so I've showed this a couple times now. So I've got, for my two different Vic March chucks, my large jaws and my big jaws, a go, no-go gauge for my tenon size. Most people on their lathes are going to have a 2 1/8 inch live center, and all you got to do is take a pencil, put it on there, and draw out your tenon size, and and then you can work to it, and you won't underturn your tenon.
Thank you.
There's not a problem with it. The audio is sensing out the lathe, and he drops off until it harmonizes.
I'm going to use a skew to set my dovetail. And so now I've got a nice dovetail tenon and a flat wall for the jaws to sit against. And so now we need to work to the diameter that we marked on the bottom. And so we're just going to go slowly and work to that, pop it off the live centers, do test fits. Probably what I ought to do is just turn it around and throw it in the chuck and be done with it. But it's kind of the way I do it, and maybe archaic, but that's what I'm comfortable with. So I'm going to move my tool rest closer. Always want to turn your lathe off. Just on the off chance you hit it the wrong way, you get startled, you wind up hitting your tool rest into your piece, and you're going to ruin it. So it's always better to turn your machine off before you start moving your tool rest. so we're gonna do test fit number 1. Just a little large. Again. When you take it off your stub center and you're putting it back in, you always want to make sure that the piece goes back into the serrations that were created when you initially put it on. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with an out of balance. Switch to the smaller gouge. Oh, so close.
While Dane's working this in, folks, I want to invite all of y'all that have joined us in the last few moments that this is Dane Chandler. He is out of Arizona, and he's turning the lid for that box that's on top of his lathe. It's a 2-part project. He did 1 part last week. We're going to put the lid together, turn it around, and finish the bottom off the second piece tonight. This is a demonstration, much like what you can do. And Dane is producing this using his iPhone. That's right.
Oh, if only it was horseshoes. And we got our fit. It's not a snap cap, but it just fits right in. And so now I'm going to turn it around so we can turn our bottom, make the cove in it. Actually, put it in the chuck. So I'm going to take my live center off so I don't bump it with my elbow or the back of my arm. And push the tailstock down to the end of the lathe. That way it's out of your way. And so all I'm going to do is make a cove in here, make it concave. We might even take the spiraling tool and put some spirals in it. Oh, so let's go ahead and give it a whirl. I haven't done any texturing in a while. So I have the Sorby large spiraler with my helmet off here. So Robert Sorby large spiraling tool. I think I've got the 6mm wheel on it, and it's got the platform. And so what you want to do is put the platform on your tool rest. Make sure you got enough room, because you should start the spiraling tool below center, engage, bring it to center, and work through on your piece. RPM wise, I've found that low RPMs are better. So somewhere around, I guess, 400 to 700, the tool performs really well. So we'll give it a try here and see if we can't make some spirals all the way to the center. So I'm at 570. Starting low, handle is up. Engage. And work it to the center. And so now we got some firefly texturing in there. All right, so from here, we're going to take it out of the chuck and use our jam chuck to finish the top of the lid. And here's our jam chuck, the original piece. So we left a tenon on so we could remount it. We marked the location of one of the jaws, that way we can line it back up on the same jaw, so we don't have to worry about it being out of round. You do not have to crank down on your tenon. Cranking down on your tenon will crush the wood fibers, and that is what will cause your blank to pop off. And so now we're going to put our lid in. live center in. Going to advance the quill. And for pressure wise, what I do is on something like this with the actual vessel being the jam tool, I engage the live center to be pushing in on the lid or the top or whatever it is that you're trying to turn. And then I give it a couple cranks on the tailstock, but without it being engaged, locked down. And that's plenty of pressure right there to hold your piece. Usually. Probably now that I said something, it'll disagree with me. So line up your tool rest.
For those just joining us, Dane's going to also give you the caution about those little wings that are sticking out.
Yes, sir. So once again, it's just like habit. I grab that chalk and I mark it. I know my hand's not going to be over there, but all it takes is just one miscue, and it'll take a chunk out of your hand, and you'll wish that you'd never done a square turning before. All right, so with a 1/2-inch gouge, I'm going to work. With a 1/2-inch gouge, I'm going to work bowl gouge. I am going to work this cap into some type of top. I have no specific idea what it's going to look like. The wood's going to tell me, and we'll go from there. Always check to make sure everything's right and tight. So when I'm doing a included finial in a cap like this, or an included button, knob, whatever you want to call it, I'll normally turn and make sure that I've got a little excess piece that's got the hole in it from your live center that I'll take the chisel after the fact and knock off. That way, when you're done with your lid, you don't have a hole sitting in it or the nice little round circle that's been supplied by your live center.
Are those shearing cuts, Dane?
Dane, the question came out, are those shearing cuts?
I'm gonna take a negative rake scraper, come along and make sure everything is even and sitting flush with the vessel. Three-eighths inch detail gouge. We're going to try and put down the sacrificial tin in here, sitting on the live center. I think that'll do it for that. Left side. So now, so that's the finished product. I still got to cut this off. So here we are with nice little jewelry caddy.
Are you
So
going to cut that off, Dane?
Yeah, I'm going to cut that off after I do the tendon hair, and then we go back and start doing the regular show again. I'll get it cut off, and then we can come back and look at it.
How are you going to cut it off?
Oh, I'm going to use a bench chisel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to chuck it up and do it on the lathe?
No,
Okay.
I'm not a fan of doing it that style. I know a lot of people do, but I hate like heck, to put in the time and effort for something, and then you're trying to cut that little piece off, and everything goes cattywampus on you, spins around and tears everything up. You know what I mean, Matt?
I do. I've been there. Thanks.
Right? Yeah.
They call it the hero move. All right, who are y'all heroes?
Yeah, right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a jam chuck in. I got a bucket full of jam chucks, various stuff labeled for various projects. And so, for the last year and a half, I'm sure everybody's heard me talk about marking your jaw position. So when you go to take something off and put it back on, everything is still running concentric. So I've got that here on my jam chuck. I always use jaw number 1 as my reference point. So we're gonna put this bad boy in. Again, doesn't require torquing down. And so now we've got our vessel. What we're going to do is turn it around, and I've been doing these for so long, I pretty much know the diameter to turn on these. The outside diameter's basically 3 inches. And yeah, so this one is 2 3/4 for the outside diameter. And then the recess for the lid walls is 2 3/8. And I typically make them, when it's a 4x4 stock, I typically make them all basically the same size. That's what comes out. So this one's 3 inches, and the inside diameter for the lid vessel is 2 3/8. So we're going to put our piece on. We're going to turn the bottom tenon off, or finish the bottom, or add decoration or whatever. So you got your tenon, you still got your center point from when you initially turned down the stock. So this is your guide point of centering things up on a jam chuck. Lock it down. Give it a small crank. This one's going to make noise, so to alleviate that, I'll put a napkin on it.
Paper napkin.
There we go. And that acts like a lubricant for it. I don't particularly care for the squealing. All right, Brenda, you see what I'm doing here?
Yes, sir.
Brenda? All right.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So from here, you want to get close, and then you're just going to nibble away at your tenon bottom here. It's still going to make noise on me. All right, well, bear with me, guys. I'm going to use my 3/8 inch gouge.
Oh, mini bike.
Sounded
like a little mini bike taking off. Whee!
I know, right? Crazy. All right. Anybody want to know what that is? It's grease for wood. So that's diluted boiled linseed oil and natured alcohol, pretty much 70% DNA, 30% linseed oil. I got to say, this is a first. Never had one making noise like that. Keep going like that, right, Matt?
I don't think that's nice, Matt, to ask him, did he check his blinker fluid today?
That wasn't me, that was Doug.
Oh, Doug asked, did you check your blinker fluid today, Dane?
No, but it's on the schedule for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
There's a question
All
about the
right.
flux capacitor too.
All right, so we got the bottom done. Then I'll knock that off with a bench chisel. Here's our top. Everything's nice and flush and concentric. And like I said, I'm gonna knock this top off, and we'll come back and look at it later on here in the program.
Great. All right. Well, we'll join you again in a few minutes.
Sounds good.
Nice job.
Any
Very nice,
questions?
Dane.
Nice job.
Yeah, that's cool, Dane.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good. All right.
I'm gonna have to make one of those for the wife.
Oh, Jason, I'm telling you, they,
Put a ring
or
in it.
at least for me, they are a real hit, especially during, the holidays for Christmas time. My wife's got certain, I've made bunches of them for her out of, some really cool exotics, larger ones. And, anytime I post something online about doing these, boom, they're like that. So I really like it. It's a quick project. You're able to work your various tool techniques and presentation to the material. You're having to use alternative means for rechucking using the jam chuck, or using the vessel itself as the jam chuck for the lid. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's a great project. It's got a little bit of spindle turning in it and bowl turning all in one. So
A lot of fun, a lot of learning.
absolutely.